Good afternoon, everyone. We have officially hit 800 subscribers after I'd uploaded my video yesterday. Huge honor for me. I love this shirt so much. Shout out Bernardo Faria and BJJ Fanatics. But I was just on my phone. I saw this headline and it made me smile at first and laugh, and I was giggling, and then I realized, and I locked in, and it made me serious. Heavyweight is struggling really bad, and I'm not really saying anything whenever I say that. This has kind of been the topic of like a couple of different discussions that we've had on and off. The basis of me bringing up why heavyweight is struggling so bad today is because Martin Buday, the guy who just fraud checked Marcus Buchecha in Abu Dhabi, he got cut from the UFC despite being like 7-1 across 8 fights in the UFC since the year 2021. So he's been very active, but just winning a bunch of decisions. And he had been knocked out only one time by Shamil Gaziev. The organization had cut him because he's stealing all the hype from these prospects that they want to build up into contenders in the division. He basically got the Colby Covington, Muhammad Makayev treatment. There's kind of cognitive dissonance happening in my brain right now because Martin Buday, since he's beating a lot of the heavyweights that they're bringing up from other promotions, which were recognized as some of the best heavyweights that they had to offer, Martin Buday is definitely one of the best heavyweights in the world, right? It's just he's not fun to watch, so they want to get him up out of there. But the problem is, you get rid of Martin Buday, you don't have anybody else to come up behind him to take his place as this prelim opener in the heavyweight division. I have a solution. I think that the heavyweight division requires I'm going to have to use a big word, fellas, diaspora. Diaspora from 205. And diaspora means a large migration of people moving from one place to another place. Because for as barren as 265 is regarding contenders, 205 has an excess of people who are just doing nothing there or gatekeeping top 5 contendership. They're not really doing much. This is the average UFC light heavyweight viewership experience, like the SpongeBob Comedy Club. We're all just looking at our TVs waiting for it to be over. Most of the time, whenever it's fights that don't end in finish, which is a lot of them, I always think to myself, man, those guys should just be heavyweights, because what are they doing here at this weight class where we have a dominant champion and a bunch of fun strikers too? We don't need just a bunch of 205ers who are occupying non-ranked positions just to occupy them, while 265 is struggling. And I'm sure that Dana White is watching these events as we're watching them, and they finish into one of the worst decisions that we've ever seen. These new prospects who are trying to debut as 205ers, or just 205ers who have been putting on stinky decisions for a long time, and he just wonders, why is my son such a loser every single time? So it's a shame that what happened to Buday happened to him, but if you find yourself in a similar position as a 205er, it should be a viable option for you to consider a move up to heavyweight instead of just getting cut by the organization. They should put that on the table as an ultimatum for you. Go up a weight class, or we are going to cut you. In the event of Buday, there's not really much mobility for him, especially if he is incapable of putting on better fights, which it's not his fault that he goes to decision so much. It's just, he just isn't a finisher. So I'm going to talk about exactly this. Many light heavyweights don't belong, and they should just eat up to 265 pounds. And before we get through the list, which I'm going to just be talking about how each of these fighters do going from left to right, how successful they would be in up a new weight class, let's talk about the potential risks of going up to heavyweight from 205. You will be better at grappling and faster than everyone. It's also risky to go up to 265 as a light heavyweight because you'll be having to try half as hard as everyone to accomplish twice as much as you would be able to in your current weight class. You might get to eat whatever you want and never cut weight again. Oh my God, no! And then you might get slept brutally, but that's kind of besides the point, because we have examples of fighters who have successfully made the switch already, and they're not the best at their weight class, but none of them have been folded out cold. We see Nzechukwu get heel hooked by Walker, but that could have happened to him at any weight class. Granted, he just didn't know how to defend against that setup. Ryan Spann has been looking like a freaking hooper at heavyweight, and he was getting done up real bad by Bogdan Guskov at 205. Bogdan Guskov is low-key. I was wrong about him. He's pretty cold. He's a good striker, and he has knockout power, and his finishing ability is very real. Vitor Petrino isn't even the largest person. He's 6'2", and he just gained an extra like 30, 40 pounds, and now he's hooping at heavyweight. He made his debut in heavyweight against Austin Lane. Now he's going to fight with Thomas Peterson, who's another grappler, so we're going to see how he does then, but that lighter man's skill is actually a real thing, so I wouldn't rule him out immediately. Ryan Spann has been looking like a hooper too. Him and Kenny Nzechukwu are each like 6'5", so why kill yourself to cut the weight to light heavyweight whenever this is a super easy option for you to get actually free money in your first like 2 or 3 fights against these cans? It seems like a no-brainer to me, and I think that more people should be following suit, granted that these guys have been having some pretty good success. The reason why we need these 205ers is because heavyweight prospects, they don't exist anymore. Marcus Buchecha and Rebeles de Spain had all the hype in the world, and they were both unsuccessful. at least Rebellious Spain won one fight before, and it wasn't a fluke because he got the same exact KO through the same setup and karate combat. It's just he was never grappled in his first fight, and it was completely held in it ended super fast. And then as soon as a takedown was shot, he lost all of his hype and he lost the fight. He lost 2 fights and was cut from the UFC. Rebellious Spain and Marcus Buchecha falling so flat makes it so that whenever a new guy debuts like Anton Delaya, we have zero expectations for this person. And like I said before, they also removed Martin Buday from the roster just because they want to protect these debutants. And they want to make sure that they're like actually in a position where they can win and not just get smudged to a decision by Martin Buday. And it's not even his fault either, because if they were actually good, or who the organization wants us to believe that they were, they would just finish Martin Buday regardless. It's not like his skill set is like absolutely insane. Shamil Gaziev knocked that dude out and he's not even a striker. It's just heavyweight MMA is so bad right now. So the solution isn't to import other heavyweights from different promotions. It's to take your 205ers that you already have in the UFC and promote them to the heavier weight class, in my opinion. So let's take a look at each of these fighters. I'm going to decide exactly how successful they would be at the 265-pound division. We're going to start with Oumar Sy. I have been saying for a very long time that I think that this man should go up to heavyweight. 6'4", this guy could likely get a takedown on Martin Buday. He possesses this like massive reach as well. 83 inches is nearly 7 feet, and he could abuse this at 265 as well. He probably wouldn't even need to wrestle if he could develop some striking and learn how to dig an underhook, because the backdrop photo here is a loss that he took to Alonzo Minifield, who I think his name is like Atomic Dog or something. What is his name? I guess it's just Atomic. Atomic Dog is a song by George Clinton, so... But yeah, he comes from a good, stable American Top Team, has a bunch of our favorite fighters who train out of there. This guy, he put on a good performance against Tuko Tokos, who, to be fair, Tuko Tokos has managed to get his career back on track with the win over Junior Tafa not too long ago. The fight with Dawoon Jung, kind of boring and forgettable, but he won it regardless. Alonzo Minifield, he did not win that fight. Alonzo Minifield is kind of like a micro heavyweight though. But comparatively speaking to other guys at like this heavier weight class, he's pretty solid at grappling too. So to get out grappled by him isn't the most embarrassing thing for sure. There's worse fates to befall a 205 contender or prospect. I would say overall, he has the potential to grow at the age of 29. It's still pretty early in the game for him, especially if he does move up to heavyweight, since that would extend the longevity of his career, since you can fight for a longer time at the heavier weight classes. He can definitely find some success at 265 if he were to go up. I think it would be a smart idea. This is a fighter who I'd like to see make the switch very soon. In his next fight, I would hope to see him go up to 265. The next fighter, which is Julius Walker, this is another guy who's lost to Alonzo Minifield. He is even younger than Oumar Sy. I used ChatGPT to generate this table, so it says 25/26. Maybe he's 25 and 26 at the same time. But we clearly have a birth date of July 16th, 1999, so his birthday just passed, so happy birthday. He likely is 26. But yeah, like I said before, Alonzo Minifield is better than people give him credit for. As far as grappling goes, he's not bad. Julius Walker, I'd picked him to win over Alonzo Minifield going into this fight just because he actually did display that he had some finishing capabilities on the ground in the guard as a grappler, but it's very possible that the people that he out-grappled in Synergy FC, which was a promotion that he came from, those guys didn't have hands or arms. Dudes were complete wet fish out of water. They did not watch Bernardo Faria regularly on YouTube. Aside from this, he has some pretty cool knockout clips too. Again, they were against dudes who were building airplane engines all day before they came and fought in the octagon, but I really wanted him to do something, because aside from 265 needing new contenders, I'll always welcome a new contender at 205 as well, because the champion is not my favorite, and Alex Pereira, it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to slide for himself, so I would love to see someone else in a position to get that belt at 205, but I don't think that it will happen anytime soon. Granted that we're dealing with the guys that we have right now as prospects. I'm using that term very lightly. It's very possible that Julius Walker had an off night whenever he lost to Alonzo Minifield, but he may just need to go back to hooping, because that was not a good fight. The storyline here was that Alonzo Minifield had hurt his foot. He like broke his toe or something, or his foot was bleeding because the little webbed part here in between his big and like index toe, it like ripped. So he was just bleeding all over the canvas, and he still won. And he soundly outstruck Julius Walker too. So he has a lot of progression to make. I'll rate his success in the 265 division like it really just depends on how hard he's been working in the gym since he lost his debut. Next is Johnny Walker, a guy who had so much upside early on in his career, but he just can't stop himself from getting knocked out, and that's it. He's getting knocked out in the gym. He's getting knocked out in low stakes fights. He's getting knocked out in ranked position eliminators. He's getting knocked out trying to make new title runs. He's just memeing himself over and over again. And I'm not sure if he means to do it. I don't think that he does. I'm not sure if anybody would purposefully meme themselves as much as he does. Against Jamahal Hill, the way that he fell back, people always make jokes about it because it looked pretty funny. And then against Magomed Ankalaev, he ate an illegal knee, and instead of hanging in the fight, which we saw what happened in the follow-up, or the rematch, he said, "We're in the desert," whenever they asked him where they were. We're in the desert. And that was something that made the doctor assume that he was rendered unable to continue in the fight. So they rule it a no contest. He gets knocked out by Magomed Ankalaev and Volkan Ozdemir. That's a screenshot in the background of the Volkan Ozdemir fight. The dude's just aura farming on him. Volkan knocked out Johnny Walker and then hit his watch emote. And Volkan Ozdemir, he's a vet and he's been around for a long time. And he shouldn't be getting these brutal knockouts in these like contender positions like that. It's arguable as to whether or not he should still be notching clips like this, especially over contenders who are so young. This guy's only 33 years old. The thing that I would say that would make him a good heavyweight is being able to gain more weight and fight heavier would help his chin without a doubt. We saw what it did for Alex Pereira moving up to 205 from 185. He also is very explosive with massive power too, and that's just going to become even more so once he becomes a heavyweight. This dude is 6'6", he's very tall. His problem is with speed though. It seems like even though he is very explosive and powerful, he gets beaten to the punch a lot, and people are able to find their mark with their shots faster than he can. There'll be less of a speed deficit between him and his opponents at heavyweight. I think this is going to generally be more conducive to him being able to score more knockouts as opposed to being on the bad end of knockouts. So what we're looking at right now is Johnny Walker versus Mingying Zhang in August 23rd, Shanghai. He's either going to win that fight, which he doesn't really have many other tools to win fights other than by knockouts or by submissions after he's like already done a lot of damage to his opponent. What I think is more likely is he gets chinned again and they use him to build up another prospect. And at that point, he's not going to have any clout left to give to people. I mean, it's a spectacle watching him fight because he is just such a genetic mutant. But he needs to be in a position where he can actually win, or else him fighting in the UFC, it doesn't really mean much. And he's losing out on half of his money every single time. And I know he wants to make the full amount, so he should move up to 265, and he can join his brother and bring honor to their family's last name. I think that this is a good plan for him. Granted, this Mingying Zhang fight goes the exact way that I think it's going to. The next dude that we're going to talk about is Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira at 38, if he's going to continue to keep fighting, I don't want to speak too soon. I selected Alex Pereira to win the rematch against Magomed Ankalaev, right? Just because I like Alex Pereira, but in my heart of hearts, I know that he probably loses this fight again. So, I mean, the Adesanya loss is always going to be a stain on his record, but Magomed Ankalaev is cracking up to be probably the best light heavyweight that we've seen compete in this division since John Jones. And if Alex Pereira were to lose a second fight to him, go up to 265, challenge through the rankings, make it to the title, and somehow get the belt, that would redeem him. He could have lost to anybody up until that point. He would be a 3-divisional champion, not at the same time, but he would have held 3 belts at 3 different points throughout history in the UFC. Nobody would have done this before. He would be solidified as one of the greats of the entire organization, no matter who he lost to. And as I look through the rankings, I mean, other than just getting freak knocked out by Derek Lewis, I think that the only competitive fight for this guy would be with Tom Aspinall, and that's just because of the commonalities that he shares with Magomed Ankalaev. Tom Aspinall has good boxing, and he's a very dominant top control wrestler. So like I said, 38. His sensei, Glover Teixeira, fought until he was like 42. I think that was his age whenever he retired. 43 years old. And it's crazy how that guy was 43, retiring, fighting for belts. Like, insanity. Alex Pereira could go out the exact same way, retiring, fighting for belts. And that is under the condition that he loses the rematch that he's already scheduled for at UFC 320 against Magomed Ankalaev, which I would say overall that he's very successful in this division. I could totally see him baking everyone ranked 15 through 5, and then he starts having competitive fights, but only with some of those guys. And I would largely dedicate their only chances of winning, dudes like Sergey Pavlovich or Curtis Blades, down to like a puncher's chance. It would take a guy like Jailton Almeida or Tom Aspinall to out-grapple him and to just masterclass this dude. Otherwise, it's a stand-up battle, and you can never rule Alex Pereira out of one of those. Aleksandar Rakic is in a weird spot right now, because he didn't have a bad outlook for his career before he hurt his leg. And he came back from it, and he's been looking like okay. I'm not really sure if the reason why he's been losing is because of his leg injury. I'm not sure if he could just goad it off and be like, oh yeah, well, if that would have never happened in the Jan Blachowicz fight, then his career would look completely different. I don't think that it's safe to say that. He does have durability issues, though. But one thing I noticed about Rakic's game that I do like, and I think that would make him very successful at heavyweight, is he has very good output, especially early on into a fight. He creates this distance between him and his opponent to where he needs to make really bad decisions at the midpoint of a fight in order to sell it, and he usually does. Lately, at least, in his last 2 fights, because he clearly won the first round against Yuri Prochazka, and then he was tagging Magomed Ankalaev's legs too, and then just stopped doing it. I wonder if he is kicking less because of his leg injury, but as far as output with the boxing and stuff went too, he was doing a good job of using his kicks to set up his hands, and then he over-relied on his hands in both of these fights, but in the Yuri Prochazka one, he just got caught in the second, and that was after he dumped in the first, but all he would really need in heavyweight would be 1 round in order to put him as much damage as he could into whoever he's fighting and to get them to break, because these guys don't have crazy durability. Nobody does whenever you're fighting another heavyweight. I think that a move up would turn Rakic into a more consistent finisher. His success up a weight class is going to be dependent on whether or not his chin is gone, or if it's been affected at all by getting knocked out by Yuri, which I don't think it was, because he was taking shots off of Magomed not bad. But he doesn't have a lot of power, and he never has. So let's see if him gaining a few extra pounds, and few is an understatement, like 30 or 40 that's a lot. That's a considerable amount of weight. I think that would make him hit harder. His kicks and his punches would definitely be more damaging at this point. And I think that he would be moderately successful, but I can't speak as to whether or not it would be like a slam dunk for him. So I'll say sideways thumbs up on this one. Where to even start with this guy? Nikita Krylov, he has the frame to support moving up to heavyweight, and that's the only reason why I recommend that this could be something that he does in his career. He's 33 years old. He's coming off of back-to-back KO losses, and they happened pretty close together. It really feels like it wasn't that long ago whenever Dominic Reyes knocked this dude out, and we all watched that happen. Then he got chinned by Bogdan Guskov, trying to strike with him whenever, like, he's always been a grappler, in my eyes at least, and he's been moving away from grappling lately, and he's been paying for it. He needs to understand that his striking is only functional for the purpose of getting his fights down to the ground and controlling there, and to set up submissions or to win decisions that way. He fought beautifully against fighters like Johnny Walker or Alexander Gustafsson, and as of late, the only times he's been finishing fights earlier is whenever he gets the fight to the ground and it's a submission. So I don't know why he thinks that he just can drop nuts and come out and strike with these guys. Like, that's ever been his game. It's not. I think that he can reestablish himself as a guy with a name and a new weight class versus just building up new prospects at 205. He let Bogdan Guskov knock him out and then do the freaking young, black, and rich thing up on the cage. And, like, while Walter Walker was behind him, like, paddling the boat. That was not cool, man. And you shouldn't be letting yourself go out like this. Not while you have the option to do something different. So what that would look like for Nikita Krylov would be to move up to heavyweight. Again, I'm going to rate his success at a moderate level because he always has the chance to get chinned. All it takes to sleep this guy is one right or left hand over the top. So you always run the risk of watching this dude getting brutally folded. And that's the reason why I would curtail my expectations for him as a heavyweight. I still think this could be a potential path forward for him, though. Speaking of path forwards, I don't know what Jamahal Hill does at this point, man. He's 6'4". So, I mean, he could gain additional weight to get up to heavyweight, but this dude fights in the 205 octagon as a heavyweight. And those are just the pounds he's storing in his midsection, like his stomach region. And I'm not here to fat shame anybody. We're all beautiful, right? But imagine what Jamahal Hill's gut would look like at 265. That lean gut would be crazy. The reason why Jamahal Hill has been doing so poorly lately is because he's been just making bad calls. The first bad decision that he made was playing basketball after he became champion. He tore his Achilles hooping, and he doesn't hoop. He was just playing hoops after he beat up Glover Teixeira, and he couldn't defend his title because he tore his Achilles tendon. We just saw Tyrese Halliburton tear his Achilles tendon, and that's like a crazy injury to recover from. Damian Lillard also did it. Kevin Durant. You can come back from that, though. But to compound on top of this foot injury or ligament injury, he had torn both of the meniscuses and one of his knees, and also had an ACL sprain in the same knee, and then had a Baker cyst in this knee too in 2024. He tried to ego his recovery and come back before he was ready to. So whenever he was dealing with the torn Achilles in recovery, he sustained more injuries, and then he still pushed to come back in 2024 whenever he wasn't ready. Got brutally chinned by Alex Pereira, and then lost durability that was displayed into his next fight against Yuri Prochazka. And then in the Khalil Roundtree fight, a few leg kicks from Khalil Roundtree on a torn meniscus himself, like, completely took Jamahal Hill out of there. And Jamahal Hill has, like, knee pads super glued to his legs at this point just because he's so hurt all the time. I think he cooked himself. He should have just rested and recovered until he was fully healthy and then came back. And I get it. It's a family man. he needs to work to pay for things for his kids and stuff. But from where I'm sitting, it seemed like Jamahal Hill didn't show an insane amount of respect for his body, and that's the reason why it's just giving up on him at this point. And it's really sad to watch, because I did like Jamahal Hill at a point where he was running through this entire division, knocking out Johnny Walker, Thiago Santos, the Oben St. Preux stuff, getting into crazy violent fights and looking like he was him, dude. But you really can't fight forever, and you have to show yourself a lot of respect as a fighter in your rest and recovery periods, or else you're going to burn out super fast. And I'll always remember the moral of the story from Jamahal Hill's career and noting this. Overall, I would say that Jamahal Hill has a chance of getting caught in these fights, or just losing due to some technicality like a leg kick from a dude that you would have never expected to beat him. I genuinely don't know if he beats Waldo Cortez Acosta if he were to go up to heavyweight, or if we were dealing with like a fully fledged heavyweight Jamahal Hill right now, and he fought Waldo Cortez Acosta on, I think it's the same card as Johnny Walker is fighting Mingying Zhang on August 23rd. I'm not sure if Jamahal Hill wins that fight. If I can't confidently state that you would win against Waldo Cortez Acosta as a projected new prospect at heavyweight, then I am not going to wager on your success in general, because that is a good threshold. A guy who gets absolutely dishonored by Waldo Cortez Acosta if he goes up to heavyweight, Paul Craig easily. As far as jiu-jitsu guys go in this organization, he's probably one of the best MMA adapted jiu-jitsu players, but that's not to say that he's the best fighter or that he has other good attributes other than his grappling. He lacks physicality even for 205, and that's the reason why he was playing around at middleweight for a little bit. But he found that those guys also hit hard, and they're just technically better than he is. So he went back to 205, challenged Adolfo Bellato, was low-key about to lose that fight, but I think that his strategy of Hail Mary subs may prove to be more effective than at light heavyweight if he did move up to 265. So the newly discovered viability of leg locks, I think, is going to open up more parts of Craig's game. If he did go up to 265, he might steal a page out of Walter Walker's book and just start ripping these dudes' calf muscles in half. That would be lit. It's just going to be the difference in power that he'll be dealing with that is going to make it so that I would never in a million years put American dollars on a Paul Craig win at heavyweight if that was something that he pursued. This is a guy who can only win very specific fights in any weight class that he's involved in, and I think that he should probably steer clear of heavyweight. I'm going to give him a thumbs down. The more that I think about it, the more that I realize that potentially our only path forward here, as far as getting new prospects at heavyweight, is going to be some type of extinction event happening in the heavyweight division where we wipe out all of the unranked contenders and pretty much everybody else from 10 to 15. The dude Tai Tuivasa is still ranked number 10 in the rankings, and like, have you seen a photo of him lately? This dude looks like he needs a Y. Tai Tuivasa, he needs a Y right now. If you've seen what he looks like, you know. I hope that he can lock back in. I mean, it's messed up, but like, I'm not sure if anybody's going to miss Martin Buday, who they cut. I think that people would be more entertained in general if, like, they should be looking to power slap to get some of those guys into the heavyweight division to fight in MMA, man. Like, have a couple of those guys transfer and see if they're any good at fighting. I really don't have any idea of where we could get the talent. Give Boogie 2988 and Wings of Redemption an opportunity to rematch in an MMA octagon, and let's see how that goes. We just got to get some circus fights at this point, because as far as actual talent comes and that being a draw, it's non-existent in 265. So it really is a damn shame, and it would be a ham if there was no S or E. So that's going to be my 2 cents here, you guys. Thank you so much again for your 800 subscribers. I will catch you fellas in the next one. Please do drop me a like, comment, and subscribe too to this video. I'm going to see y'all in the next upload.